A swimming pool made by your own hands from a reliable, lightweight, durable, very warm, ultra-long-lasting, innovative, homemade composite material, all components of which are sold in any hardware store. A permanent pool without any heavy concrete work at all. I think there simply aren't any cheaper permanent pools available yet. Unlike Chinese polyvinyl chloride frame pools, it can't be damaged by mischievous kids with a small knife. And a resentful neighbor won't be able to secretly shoot it with a non-lethal gun out of malice. A friendly neighbor, on the other hand, will be absolutely delighted to find out that the pool was made this way. You can decorate it with a variety of homemade finishing options, even the cheapest of which look much better than expensive store-bought ones. Thanks to its unique thermal properties, the water in this pool heats up very quickly in sunny weather and hardly cools down during cool nights. Our pool's compact is just the first step, maybe even more of a plunge pool. By building it, I'm testing a method that should allow not only the luxury-loving Golden Billion to have their own solid pool, but also us, the modest majority living in the post-Soviet space. Viewers and subscribers of the Pesni Yashi Koshaka channel will be the first to learn about the method. The pool is inexpensive to construct and can serve as a water reservoir for homes and cottages, such as for watering gardens or as a low-cost fish farming tank. I feel like I've intrigued you, so let's go through everything step by step and in detail with all the nuances. Hello everyone. I bought just one pack of Pinaplex Comfort with sheets that are 3 centimeters thick. A pack has 13 sheets. Based on my calculations, I'll only require 12, leaving 1 extra. It's hot July days now. The old, wise, half-deaf dog escapes the heat, not in a comfortable kennel, but in her own way, deepening her resting spot a little more each day.
I can't help it. My paws just dig on their own. It's an animal survival instinct, you could say.
The desire of Homo sapiens to understand the world around him led to the emergence of science and technology. To be able to cool down and deal with the heat, I decided to use exactly those. That's why I vigorously scrape the foam board with a saw blade for wood detached from its handle. The fact that in previous videos on the Yasha Kosiak Songs channel we learned how to bend foam board now makes it possible to easily implement a new idea. Extruded polystyrene foam, Pinaplex, easily withstands very impressive compressive loads, which is why it is widely used for insulating floors, roads, and even runways. But at the same time, it is quite brittle when bent. A simple technique allowed me to safely bend this material, making it very flexible. Temporarily attaching a piece of plaster fiberglass mesh allows you to do this without the risk of breaking it. The bending occurs due to the safe, easy crumpling of the inner side, not because of the dangerous stretching of the outer side arch and polystyrene foam, which the strong fiberglass mesh prevents. The workflow. I apply thin strips of polyurethane adhesive foam to the roughened sheet, set it aside briefly, and continue roughening the next one. When after a couple of minutes the adhesive foam starts to become tacky, I glue on the fiberglass mesh. It's more convenient to glue this way than directly onto fresh foam. You can start bending it in the heat after about 10 minutes. At first it seemed more convenient to bend the sheet while sitting on it. I bend one side, then move on to the other. Here's the process in detail without speeding it up. I try to bend the sheet as evenly as possible right from the start. No comment is needed here, it's all very simple. You need 2 hands with no more than average strength. I think any will do. Before starting this job, I thought about making a foam board bender, but after trying to bend it by hand, I decided not to waste time on it. I only need to bend 8 sheets. When the edges are bent, I bend the middle and leave it under the table's crossbar for 10 minutes to stabilize the round shape. After that, it's easy to remove the fiberglass mesh because the glue strips are sparse and thin. You could likely just leave the fiberglass mesh on. I remove it to save money as it can be reused. I've used this piece in another Yasha Kosiak Songs project. Omitting it should improve the quality of what I plan to do next. Let me remind you that those who wish can support the research on the Yasha Kosyak Songs channel through sponsorship on YouTube, and viewers from Russia can use the Boosty service. The link is under the video. Thank you in advance. Your support is very important and allows me to take on projects that I wouldn't be able to attempt without it. And there are really a lot of ideas. The nearest hardware store to our village already has rough Pinaplex, which is called Pinaplex Wall, but I'm so used to roughening it myself that without this step, I feel like the job is somehow incomplete. I bent the last sheets all at once in a single go. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I went the extra mile and even cut off the leftover glue foam from the bent sheets. 8 bent and 4 straight sheets. Here is the full assortment of polystyrene foam that I will need to make a compact pool. The Pinaplex sheets have rabbets, which are also called L edges, and I carefully coat it with polyurethane adhesive foam. I glue 3 sheets into a strip, pressing them down with a weight while the adhesive sets. In hot weather, bonding happens quickly. I cut the 4th sheet in half and glue the halves to both sides of the strip. I placed a polyethylene film beneath the sheets to ensure they won't adhere to the wooden flooring of my covered area. Polyurethane construction adhesive expands less than mounting foam, making it better suited for this task. I cut off the excess hardened glue with a utility knife. Next, using a wooden slat as a compass, I draw a circle with a diameter of 1.5 meters. The fixed pencil presses into the surface more than it actually draws. The line is visible, and that's what matters. On one long side of the bent sheets, I cut off a quarter. The sheets are bent with a curve, so now I straighten them out a bit. At this point, there's no risk of breaking them even without the mesh. I applied too much glue when gluing the first sheet, making it hard to control the line due to the excess that squeezed out. You can't spoil porridge with too much butter, but it's good to know your limits. So I corrected myself on the second one. I let the applied glue sit briefly before gluing, as it makes bonding easier. So far, everything is going just as I imagined it would. The third sheet turned out to be somewhat unruly, a bit rebellious, so I temporarily fixed one of its edges to the base sheet with screws. I cut off the excess piece of the base and put it to use as well. My friend Valentine, the kind bathhouse attendant, has suggested multiple times that I review his hot stainless steel tub.
You probably won't be able to get out of it if you're drunk.
We got out. In fact, we got out pretty well.
A mat is laid here so your feet don't get burned, and that's it. It takes on an anatomical shape with a curved back.
I refuse because I like things that are accessible to everyone. And to buy it, you need at least good connections at the dairy plant, so you can quietly take a stainless steel vat out through the checkpoint. Not everyone has such connections. That's a joke. My friend bought a decommissioned tank, although it looks brand new. So comrades, both from the security service, keep watching the video calmly. Everything is under control from here on out. But now I do want to experiment with making a hot Faraka bath out of foam board. If I get around to it, I'll give it a try. So it took 4 sheets for the base and 4 bench sheets. That's it. The pool's ready. We're done here, guys. Just kidding. This is only the beginning. The volume of the resulting container is already at least a cubic meter. Then I was struck by an obsession. To implement it, I decided to use the leftover 2-component waterproofing I had stored away. According to the manufacturer's stated specifications, Pinaplex is completely waterproof and has a water absorption rate of no more than 0.5%, just 0.5%. From my personal experience, I know that adhesive foam can let water through. That's why, to achieve huge savings on waterproofing, I decided to seal only the joints. Working with this waterproofing is a real pleasure, in quotes. I used it to waterproof the open balcony of our main house, and this is what's left. Back then, I didn't think to seal only the foam board seams, but I figured it out when making the first floor and open balcony slab in the House for $1,000 project. As I understand it, it's a type of polymer concrete. After it cures, it becomes elastic, like rubber, and that's just what the doctor ordered. However, not everything goes smoothly or is perfectly round. To fix minor roundness imperfections in certain joints, I temporarily glued the flexible curved sheets with a narrow adhesive strip. There turned out to be 2 such spots. Someone might come up with a better and simpler way to reliably seal the seams of waterproof extruded polystyrene foam. Be sure to write about it under this video. Next, I cut a strip of alkali-resistant plaster fiberglass mesh along the circumference, leaving some excess for overlap. It usually comes in 1 meter wide rolls. This time I found that width excessive and reduced it to 70 centimeters. This is what I meant when I said that working with this waterproofing is quite a pleasure. If the layer is a bit thicker, noticeable shrinkage with cracks appears right away. In such places, waterproofing is adjusted with the most precise tool given to us by Mother Nature herself, the index finger. Maybe it's worth considering gluing the sheets together right away with waterproof glue, but working with foam glue is just so convenient and fast, even though you have to finish it up later. I went to the store and bought more fiberglass mesh and just 3 25-kilogram bags of mix, which I used to glue board insulation materials to the surfaces that need insulation and to create a base reinforced layer on the surface of the insulation. That's it. This should be enough for my pool. Many of the construction techniques I use on the Pesniyashi Koshaka channel are experimental and need to be tested at least over time. By the way, I often get criticized for this. So the decision to use them or not is entirely your responsibility. My actions are frequently guided by intuition and possibly an innate sense of structural mechanics. I admit I never studied it specifically, and I'm going back to my construction experiments. I mix the adhesive according to the instructions, and I'm applying it to the walls and part of the bottom using a spatula and a stainless steel float. I'm steadily working toward the dream of almost every private house or cottage owner. I'm trying not to apply it all the way to the top, leaving 7 to 10 centimeters. I'll explain why later. We lay the prepared strip of fiberglass mesh and use the same trowel to embed it into the mixture. On one side of the mesh, I cut something like a fringe. Its depth and width are about 20 centimeters each. And this, you could say, is my signature move called the reverse potter. The piece stays in place while the potter moves energetically around it with a wide spatula. I reinforce the bottom with a thin layer of mixture and mesh, just a few millimeters thick. The key is to ensure the plaster fiberglass mesh is immersed and concealed within it. It's easy to achieve the desired smoothness for my project. The thin layer sets quickly, and I use a utility knife to separate the Penaplex sheets, which I used to correct the imperfect shape. The shape is fixed, now it's evenly round. The pool is already starting to gain weight. We try to turn the vessel over carefully so as not to damage the upper edge, which hasn't been reinforced and cleaned yet. I decided to use double waterproofing, so I'm applying more to the seams that weren't fully covered on the outside. It seems to me that the dog walks around with a certain sense of superiority. The owner, nearing relief from the heat, grows increasingly tired from work. She, however, cools off primitively in her den, only emerging to eat and enjoy herself. I didn't cut the next strip of mesh narrower, but instead cut a fringe about 45 centimeters deep. I cut out the pieces for the bottom and mixed up the glue mixture. When I apply the mixture to a horizontal surface, I use the effect of gravity. That's why, even without any plastering experience, I was able to do a pretty good job plastering right from the start. When I then tried applying such mixtures to vertical surfaces, I was pleasantly surprised because it turned out quite well from the very first time. Probably because they are specially designed for this kind of work. The mixture sticks to the foam board just perfectly. You shouldn't replace them with slightly cheaper tile adhesive because these mixtures contain special polymers that ensure reliable adhesion to the insulation sheets. I'm filming the process in great detail, so absolutely all the nuances are visible, and anyone who wants to can easily repeat the process, of course, at their own risk. YouTube is flooded with amusing castles with pools made from earth, foreign diggers, and various primitive technologies that are very captivating to watch. But the channel songs of Yasha Kosiak is about progressive technologies. Back when I was running our small family business making high-quality handmade barrel saunas, I often thought about making a wooden hot tub. What stopped me was the very high labor intensity and cost price. Quality boards are expensive, plus you need costly glues and expensive protective paints and coatings. I tried bending another brand's extruded polystyrene foam, but it started to crack alarmingly and didn't yield the same result. This disruption of the internal structure will significantly weaken the entire composite material and almost certainly compromise its waterproofing ability. There are always critics, and I'm sure people in the comments will suggest even cheaper pool options. You could swim, for example, in a Eurocube by cutting off the top, but there's also the matter of aesthetics. Swimming like that feels post-apocalyptic. Some people strongly dislike anything European and definitely won't use a Eurocube, even just because of its name. Besides, if you buy a Eurocube instead of sneaking it out through the checkpoint, it usually isn't cheap at all. And once again, the maneuver called the Potter in reverse. I got dizzy, so now I'm spinning the other way. Yeah, life really makes you spin around actively. I'm taking a break, but not for long. This method of laying reinforcing material in fiberglass composite work is called wet on wet. That is, when the next layer is applied onto the previous one before it has cured. Wonderful tomatoes from the tall warm bed and cucumbers, July 3rd. On the Yasha Kosiak Songs channel, I already talked about our tall warm beds, videos about which have long gone viral on the internet. One of them was made from exactly the same innovative material using extruded polystyrene foam. The inexpensive and visually pleasing garden bed walls are cheap, simply finished to look like natural stone. The soil didn't deform them, ants didn't turn it into an anthill, and mice didn't make any holes. No skeptical prediction from armchair experts proved true. Mulching with mowed grass reduces the need for fertilizing and watering the garden beds. However, the grass begins to wither by midsummer due to reduced soil moisture. Watering's no fun. On hot days, everyone waters. Due to low water pressure, a single sprinkler operates at only 30% capacity. My pool will hopefully solve this problem too. Now I need to decide on the location of the plunge pool. I thought about it and decided that here, among the buildings made with the same method, it would be the perfect place for it. The summer shower and toilet are on the left, the composter is straight ahead, and a garden bed is on the right. Further away is the $1,000 house project. Gradually, if you don't abandon the construction, you could end up with a whole Pinaplex land. There's already a plan for a sturdy and beautiful path made from the same material. The mixture dries quickly in the heat, so I try to keep it moist. Just because it has set doesn't mean it has gained strength yet. Despite its apparent lightness, the structure will be quite heavy once water is added, so I decided to prepare the foundation for installation. This season, the garden bed in this spot was removed because of the high yield from the others. I hope the pool bath will stay here for a long time. That's why I'm replacing the valuable fertile soil, which is important for gardening, with an equally valuable sand cushion, which is important for construction. You can look at this view forever, especially after some hard work with the soil. I called on tap water to do the hard work of compacting the sand cushion. The fact that the mixture is still far from full strength is evident from how easy it is to work with, for now. I didn't stay away from the work of compacting the sand either. I aim to capture the essence of swimming in this work. Very pleasant dreams are born. Carefully turn the future container over again. Just a little more simple work, and I believe that dreams will come true. Further work will make it significantly heavier, and it should become completely solid and immobile. So, before it's too late, I'm taking action. Here's another advantage of the round shape. I roll it along a strip of the same material. It was left over after we rebuilt our trench gates. The final push is ahead, and we'll all find out very soon. Because of the relatively small volume, I think we won't have to use toxic chemicals for the pool. By simultaneously using the water for regular irrigation, I can ensure active water exchange, keeping it fresh. The desire to swim in the heat aligns with the need for frequent watering. Let's catch up with and surpass America in the number of pools per capita together. Let's have Miami in every backyard and every garden. It's better than swimming in a pit. It's a reliable thing, though. Thoughts are spinning in my head. What if the trick with the free waterproofing doesn't work out? I remind myself that there are many solutions. If it fails, the loss won't be too big. This volume used minimal materials. There will be another composter. For instance, a custom or self-made liner using strong polyvinyl chloride, commonly found in truck tarps, won't significantly impact the budget. Such material is very reliable and durable. It will be very cheap if you use a used banner for this. I temporarily attach the top and bottom sheets together using a self-tapping screw. There are also imported films for pools called liners. It's the same tarpaulin polyvinyl chloride, but with a mosaic pattern, making it several times pricier than domestic ones. There are expensive options for do-it-yourself enthusiasts from Rubliovka, but they likely don't exist. You can waterproof the entire base reinforcing layer from the inside, not just the seams. Then you can add tiles or mosaic on top. That's exactly what the instructions say. I continue to hope for the best. I'm removing the temporary screws as they've fulfilled their purpose. Already at dusk, I'm waterproofing the newly formed seams, for now only on the outside of the pool. That's why I didn't reinforce with mesh or apply the mixture all the way to the top edge of the lower part. This way, I still have the opportunity to seal the joint between the lower and upper parts. Overnight, the waterproofing set, now all that's left is to seal the seams from the inside. The outside is ready for further work. The height or depth of 2 standard extruded polystyrene foam sheets is 1.2 meters, and I can no longer jump inside without a ladder. I used temporary bars to even out the straightness, or rather the roundness. Everything is almost perfect. Slab insulation materials require an adhesive mixture layer between their surface and the mesh for creating the basic reinforcing layer, according to the technology. First the mixture, then the mesh on top, not the other way around. The mesh glued with foam to bend the sheets could interfere with this. That's why I didn't leave it. Due to the intense heat, applying the next layer was postponed until evening. It's more convenient to work with the mixture in the shade, so I apply it to the half of the container that's in the shade. If you choose to install a filtration system with chemicals, you can integrate the water intake and supply into the latter to avoid making holes in the pool edge. This new maneuver is called the reverse half potter. Again, the smoothness is sufficient. The sun is set behind the house, so I'm beginning the second half. I think these shots can symbolize the birth of something new. After all, we were all found in the Cabbage Patch too. I returned to the store and purchased a bag of the least expensive tile adhesive to begin the finishing process. If you need a pool or a water tank disguised as concrete rings, you can skip this step. I decided to use the same technique that I used when finishing our composter. Back then, it was total improvisation. The unexpected rain ruined my plans, and the wind damaged the protective plastic film I was using for the project. It's frustrating. Seems like everything was lost. But as a good omen, a rainbow appeared after the rain, and as I peeled off the stuck film, I quickly realized that nature itself was teaching me how to decorate the surface to look like natural stone. So I stuck and peeled off the film in other places that hadn't been affected by the elements. Well, after that, it was just a matter of technique, the kind I developed working with the composter and the tall, warm garden bed. In this, I'm once again helped by a very important tool for any professional art concrete worker. Its design is a closely guarded secret, passed down from grandfather to father, from father to son, and so on. But I managed to find it out for you. Tile adhesive can help you easily decorate surfaces to mimic various materials, such as wood. But a stone pool should look more expensive, especially for us Eastern Slavs, including Belarusians. Showing off is more valuable than money. When you can decorate in a Mediterranean style for the same cost, I choose that. I'll feel like a lucky deputy who bought a country house in sunny Italy. We don't have deputies like that in Belarus. Ours are honest. Thanks to the help of the elements, it turned out that after the polyethylene film, the surface of the pseudo-stones practically doesn't require any additional treatment. Only the inner surface remains to be reinforced. Reinforcement inside, just like outside, because of the heat, I do in 2 stages. In the rings I made for the warm septic tank, I used double reinforcement. But for this pool, I chose single reinforcement. Next, I needed the cheapest facade paint and 5 different colorants. Almost all of this was left over from painting the composter. I only bought 1 more brown colorant, since I used the most of it last time. When my family realized that my idea was working out, they happily rushed to help me. My daughter helped a lot with the painting. Don't judge us too harshly for our artwork. Keep in mind that this is complete improvisation, and we're doing it for the first time in our lives. I worked a bit with an angle grinder and a stone disc. We left the joints between the stones and some stones themselves unpainted, keeping their natural gray mortar color. My wife also did some work on the baptismal font. Using a technique she invented while painting the composter, she tried to give the stones more depth by lightening them. And I covered everything. No, not with swear words, but with a tinted antiseptic acrylic varnish in rosewood color. By Murphy's Law, the heat started to subside and the night rain tried to test our creation for waterproofness. I put a stop to that. I was hesitant to pour water into the recently reinforced container. As a precaution, I laid down a polyethylene film before doing so, fearing the freshly set mixture might wash away.
Sorry, boss, about the lawn. I messed it up a bit, I admit. But it really was hot, despite cooling down now. I'm feeling good here, thanks to my paws.
Then I used scraps of 50mm sewer pipe left over from previous projects. If you buy it, it's cheap. Both the lid of the composter and the opening of the outdoor shower are framed with it. I'll give you the materials needed for the pool. You can then calculate the cost based on prices in your area. 12 sheets of 3cm Penaplex Comfort, 3 bags of insulation mix, 1 bag of tile adhesive, about 30 square meters of plaster mesh, and half a can of foam adhesive. A little paint, varnish, scraps, and pipes are all that's needed. This time, the framing turned out in a kind of bamboo style. This water is an entirely different matter. And of course, in violation of all building codes, I couldn't resist. The dog was really surprised. Then it seemed got offended. She only has paws and instincts, but we have technology after all. Tests show that in the sun, the water quickly heats up to a very comfortable temperature and hardly cools down during the cool nights. If you make a lid from the same material, you can keep the water in the tub constantly cool. With a thickness of only 3 centimeters, Penaplex insulates as well as 17 to 18 centimeters of dry wood. And that's no joke. It got colder, but I kept swimming. The plunge pool works like a big thermos mug. Meanwhile, the pool is gaining strength for the final leak test. And since I mentioned battery-powered equipment in this video, let's go visit the inventor and innovator Nikolai Ivanovich, who is also my dad. In the video about sliding gates made of Penaplex, he helped me connect the automation. He came on an unusual homemade disguised electric bicycle, and many viewers asked to tell more about it in detail. Let me tell you, my dad borrowed a 40-volt battery from my Greenworks chainsaw and made it. He didn't stop at the first one. Here's his next creation.
Voltage, current, speed.
And here's another one. Our younger son left our old bicycle in his grandfather's garage, and voila, now it's an electric bike. The main thing now is to make sure that with all these devices and wires, I don't get mistaken for a terrorist and get treated accordingly. It turns out that if you take apart a used hoverboard, it's that ridiculous electric board with 2 wheels on the sides. Typically gifted to kids who ride them briefly before losing interest. Occasionally, the tipsy father takes a spin. They just gather dust almost new on balconies or in storage rooms. If you tinker with them, you can get about 500 watts of power out of each wheel. Nikolai Ivanovich formerly headed a department in a special design bureau working for the Soviet defense industry. As an electronics specialist, he can easily do this. Grandpa constructed a highly potent and hazardous device for his granddaughter, essentially a bullet. It's a good thing we stopped by for an inspection. I now see why he hesitated to offer a ride on it, repeatedly suggesting to take the old one instead. We must persuade them to deport him soon for safety reasons.
Here you see it's made up of 1, 2, 3 parts, even a fourth one. But over there, the restraint mechanism is much simpler.
And where is the first bicycle?
And the first one is under the second.
Nikolai Ivanovich doesn't have his own YouTube channel, so you can reach him through Yasha Koshak's songs. I take out the plastic. Basically, I tore it right away. When I was laying it down, noticed it on the second day. Whether it was there or not, it made no difference. After over 10 days, the water is now fully in contact with the walls. Nothing got washed away. I estimated the volume of the plunge pool, or pool plunge. It's 2 cubic meters. There's no film. In a few places at the bottom, I noticed some small chips, but they seem dry. Looks like water still tried to push its business interests, but it didn't succeed. Only at the bottom part, where the water column pressure is higher. I checked specifically, there are no seams at the top anywhere. The waterproofing, which had been sitting for 2 years, may have expired. The water level rose due to rain, not a leak. As expected, the foam board serves as both insulation and waterproofing. This is a success and I'm very satisfied. Now I'm thinking about how to finish the inside. I would really appreciate your advice. Give a big thumbs up and subscribe to Songs of Yasha Koshak channel. Follow my Zen and TikTok. Links are below. Hit the bell to stay informed. Let there be peace worldwide. Thank you.